Good after, Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Strategy Genius Member School Spotlight featuring Charles River School. I'm Joyce Tom, and I'm joined by my colleague Jennifer Hula. Together, we are part of the team at Strategy Genius. Since 2021, Strategy Genius is one of the only BIPOC owned search firms partnering exclusively with independent schools throughout the United States. From our beginning, our core tenet is to promote and champion equity and belonging in education by improving diversity among independent school teachers and leaders. For us, we see everything through a relational lens. Schools and educators are partners. The educators we partner with are incredibly diverse in so many ways and dimensions. Whether you're just starting out or ready to become the head of school, the thread that connects our educators is their passion for DEIJB and their desire to seek out communities and schools that embrace and celebrate DEIJB. Our consultants have decades of experience mentoring and coaching educators. We're especially proud of how we've built relationships that span entire careers. We also take pride in supporting organizations and conferences that center diverse educators and equity. For example, we've been a major sponsor of POCC since 2001 and are partnering with regional POCIS groups to help candidates and with their application materials. We also take pride in partnerships with member schools. Like our educators, our member schools are also incredibly diverse, and the common thread connecting them is their commitment to DEIJB. As their partners, we push our member schools to think critically about their recruitment, hiring, and retention practices as they pertain to diverse educators. Right now, we have over 130 member schools, and most of them are located on the East and West Coasts. Each school is unique in its own way, and we feel lucky to get to know them when we visit and work with them. We know that, however, that sometimes it's hard for educators like you to get to know a school. A website or social media account can't always convey everything that makes a place special. So, to bridge this gap, we are hosting these member school spotlights to give a school the stage and to let them share with educators what makes their school special and unique. So, our member school spotlights are recorded so that we can spread the word to everyone who couldn't make it today. Basically, this is a 1 hour focus on the Charles River School today. This is like it's formatted like an information session, except that it's tailored to educators who want to learn more about a school. Administrators and teachers today will talk about the school, its culture, its programming, and other unique aspects of the school. At the end, folks can submit questions through the question and answer function here in the Zoom call. And as I said before, we're going to be recording this spotlight for future reference and storing it on the Strategy Genius website. So we're extremely excited to shine the spotlight on Charles River School, located in Dover, Massachusetts, which is about half hour's drive from Boston. The Charles River School is a progressive, independent pre-K through 8 school that honors the pursuit of academic excellence and the joy of childhood. I first met Gretchen Larkin, the head of school, when we were co-panelists in a webinar for beginning teachers about a year ago. While she was describing her school and program, I remember thinking, whoa, this school is doing some amazing stuff. And Gretchen is amazing. She's fire, right? And then when I found out that Nia Jacobs was leading DEIJB there, man, I'm wondering, how do we start partnering with them? So you can imagine how thrilled I was when Gretchen reached out last summer to inquire about becoming a member school. I'm like, hooray, let's do this. And so without further ado, I want to turn the stage over to our friends at Charles River School so that you can hear all about the amazing things happening at this sweet school. I'm hoping, no, I'm betting you'll leave this webinar asking, how do I join this community? So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to the team at Charles River.
Thank you, Joyce. And thank you so much for your kind words. I hope we can live up to all that you said. And welcome to everyone who's joining us today on this webinar. As Joyce said, my name is Gretchen Larkin. I'm head of school at Charles River. I'm the very proud head of school. I've been here for 9 years. And it is my honor to lead the school that is on the move. And that's the one thing I can say first and foremost is that we're school on the move. And I can't wait to share with you all a bit about who we are and a bit more beyond the website. But I want Elizabeth and Nia to just take a second to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nia Jacobs. I'm the Director of Equity, Belonging, and Community Life, and this is my second year at Charles River School. And I'll talk more in a little bit, but just wanted to say to start that, in interviewing at Charles River, I knew, even through a screen, because it was the middle of COVID, that this was an incredible place that I really wanted to be able to work in. And it's been great being here ever since. And thank you for being here with us today.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Clayton. I am the Associate Head of School here at Charles River. This is my 16th year here at CRS and have done a lot of different things. As Associate Head, I get to be a part of a lot of different parts of the school, which is wonderful. And I'm also a parent of 2 graduates of Charles River School. So not only do I get to be a part of the faculty, but I get to be a member of the parent community and see what great benefits this school provides to students. So that's a special thing to be able to do too.
Okay, so our mission, it's interesting. Mission statements at schools, I think, are, we all esteem to do great things with children. We all esteem to create these communities where children feel that they belong and they feel safe and that we can grow these wonderful humans who go out to the world and do great things. And so I have such respect for schools and the missions that they ascribe. And one of the things that set Charles River School apart for me when I first stepped on campus in 2013 is that the mission that you see here, I truly felt it. It was alive. Like I could see, without the relationships and the synergy that I saw between children and adults, we would not be able to carry out this mission. And that is something I think that you feel when you come on campus is, yes, we are a joyful community. Hopefully most schools are all joyful places to be. And yet to see the, as I said, synergy between the teachers and the children is really quite remarkable. And one of the things I think that is apparent in seeing our mission being carried out is that there's a respect, obviously, that children have for the adults around them, but there's a respect that the teachers have for their children and their capacity to learn and to grow. That is something different than I've experienced in the many schools where I have worked. And when we talk to our alumni, they say, it is their experience at Charles River School. Yes, obviously they're high schools, and if they choose to go to college or whatever their path might be, but their experience as a child at CRS, as we call ourselves, was something that prepared them in ways for this complex world in which we send them that they could not have imagined. We are not Our mission also, in order to carry out this mission, we are not a quiet school. You will step on campus and we are busy, and we don't have quiet halls. We don't have quiet classrooms. There is a noise, there's a hum and a beat to what we do each day. I'm actually thinking I might have to close my window in a minute because I'm hearing all the lots of noise outside to what I'm speaking about right now. Okay. In order to get just a taste of who we are, we have this video. Some of you may have seen it if you explored our website, but I think it is a short 2-minute video that just sort of encapsulates a day in the life.
This is Arthur. This is Emma. This is Ollie. This is an introduction to Charles River School.
This is where we create change makers. This is where we inspire innovators. This is early childhood, the age to explore the natural world.
These are the elementary grades, the foundation for all learning. This is the middle school, a place for collaboration and innovation. This is soccer. This is Miss Kenny.
Hi, Miss Kenny.
These are partial products.
This is Jameson. This is Ian. This is Philly. He prefers Swiss chard. This is exploration. This is taking risks. This is learning from failure. This is everything about Charles River School in 2 words. Joy is fuel for taking on big challenges.
This is Lauren. This is Lauren questioning the status quo. This is Nathan. This is Nathan living a moment in history. This is Gretchen. This is our school audit.
This is discovery. Most importantly, this is how, above all else, Charles River School values individualism. This is the quality that all of our graduates share. And this is the single most important result of everything we teach. This is compound interest. Invest in the foundation and your options are limitless. This is a wonderful metaphor for a child's education. This is Charles River School.
Thanks, Nia. So the sound, I'm not sure for all of you, but the sound was a bit off, but if you go to our website, it might have a little more clarity, and hopefully maybe it will help you formulate some questions for the end of our presentation to ask about the school. So our facts and figures, many of these are on the website, but we thought that was important. If you look at this photo, it sure does look like Charles River School is in the middle of nowhere. But it actually is it's less than 15 miles from Boston. And for any baseball fans out there, it's 14 miles from Fenway Park. And it really it's a very easy drive in, contrary to some other cities that are harder to navigate. One of the things I think that is amazing is that we draw from 29 cities and towns. And this really makes us, I think, for some, many parents and faculty will ask, how do you foster community from so many different cities and towns? Well, actually, we create a neighborhood of sorts within our own school is how we like to think about it. And so we have an opportunity to really pull people in, focus on, as the video said, actually, we value individualism. And that is something that we focus on with a really keen sort of eye to ensure that each child feels that they are coming and able to bring their full self to CRS and that they belong. And especially when they're coming from so many different cities and towns and different schools where they maybe had attended. When you look at the numbers for our BIPOC students and our BIPOC employees, these are numbers, and we are still, we'll name it, a predominantly white institution. And that is something that we are working hard and with great intentionality to try and, make this a far more diverse community. And it's something that we've been committed to for a long time, since our, for years prior to my arrival, even 9 years ago. This is something the school has focused on, our commitment to equity and inclusion and belonging. And I thank Nia for the work that she has done when she joined us last year to continue to help us navigate our community and to create a far more inclusive and a school that's representative of the world around us, as opposed to what it looks like right now.
So I'm going to jump in at this point and talk just a little bit about our program and the
Elizabeth,
yeah.
it's
sorry.
hard to hear you.
Okay. I'm not sure what I can do differently. Okay. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our program and how faculty work together. We are a school where collaboration is everywhere. So we have the way that we teach is in our elementary grades in pre-K through 5. We have a co-teaching model. So there are 2 teachers in every classroom who plan together and deliver the curriculum together. And so people are not working individually in silos and alone and making decisions on their own. They're really collaborating with partners in the work that we do with kids. In the middle school, it's more of a team teaching model, where in our 6th grade, we have a humanities teacher and a math and science teacher. And then in 7, 8, we have teachers for each subject, and they work together as a team to really meet the needs of all the students that are there. Our specialist teachers are brought in through interdisciplinary projects and really work with classroom teachers to plan exciting and new things to be happening in the classroom, so that the learning that's happening in the classroom is continuing in specialist classes, so kids don't feel like they are stopping and starting throughout their day. There really is a thread that connects everything together. And so teachers really do get the opportunity to work together on curriculum plan with each other. That collaboration extends into things like faculty committees, which faculty tend to lead. So we are a small school with a small administrative team, and therefore our faculty really do have a lot of opportunities for leadership, whether it is chairing a faculty committee or serving as a lead teacher in their building or their cluster. But there are ways that faculty, or in leading a particular curriculum area, we have math coordinators, science coordinators, and so on and so forth. So there really are a lot of places where faculty who are interested in taking that step in their career can really step up and be teacher leaders. And then through professional development, we collaborate with each other all the time. So we do school-wide professional development that is planned by a combination of committees and individuals. And then also folks are working on their own goals. And so we support travel to conferences and workshops in the area if teachers are interested in going out, gathering some information, and then coming back and sharing with the faculty. And again, that leads to that feeling of collaboration. As teachers go out and learn, they come back, share with the rest of the faculty, and become sort of a resource in that area. The teaching that we do in classrooms is constructivist and thematic. These are words that we use all the time at Charles River School. We really do believe that children need to be given opportunity to construct their own knowledge, that this is not a place where a teacher stands at the front of the room and students listen and then feed back that information to teachers. They really are participating in activities and labs and projects that help them answer essential questions and come up with meaning that helps them to attach what they're learning to things that they already know, so that they can just increase their sort of web of knowledge that they're growing throughout the years. We pay a lot of attention to relationships and classroom environment as well. As a faculty, we've been working the past couple of years with Zaretta Hammond's culturally responsive teaching in the brain, and using her Ready for Rigor framework, and really taking a look at the community that children are learning within. And so looking at what the classroom physical space looks like, as well as the content and the methods with which we are delivering that content. When we make decisions about curriculum or teaching methods, we are very student-centered. We think about individual students as well as the class of kids who we have each year. We have one class per grade, and so teachers are very focused on those students who are in front of them in that year. And while their overall curriculum stays much the same, a lot about things change each year, so that we can provide authentic experiences and meaningful experiences for our students. Creativity is something that we encourage in our students, and also something that that thrives in our faculty community as well. Because we have such a focus on student experience, we are changing things year over year to make sure that kids are really engaged in the curriculum in a way that is going to help them remember what they are learning and be able to build on it year to year. So there's lots of agency that both students and teachers have to make changes and to adjust accordingly depending upon the needs in their classroom. And then finally, at CRS, connections are the name of the game. So we teachers and the teacher-student relationship, this is what I always come back to as like my favorite part of Charles River School, and that's as a faculty member and as a former parent of 2 CRS children. The connections that my kids were able to form with their teachers were just examples of why it's so important for teachers to know their students very, very well. And kids here are known by not only their teachers in the classroom, but by administrators, specialist teachers, our chef and kitchen staff know the kids by name. This is a place where walking through the halls, everybody gets called by name and feels like they are a member of a community that is really, really tight. And that teacher-student relationship allows for a number of things. It allows for students to feel really safe and heard in the classroom. And so kids are taking intellectual risks in a way that I think is pretty special. And then on the flip side, because teachers know their students so well, we're able to differentiate in a way that I think is pretty unique, in that it's not just about, the content or the skill that the child needs, but it's about the social emotional growth that students are experiencing. And when is it a good idea to push a student? When do they need support? When do we need to, give them some space to think through? When do we need to really be having them do more? And so that's something that teachers do a lot of thinking about. And then the whole community is one. We are a pre-K to 8 school that is one community, which I think is pretty magical. That age range is, I think, the best for kids in that range of grades. That when you are little, it's great to be able to see some kids who are older than you to serve as role models and be excited about what's coming next. And when you're in middle school, to be the oldest students in the school, to be the role models, to be the leaders of the school is pretty impressive. And when you have 7th and 8th graders who are happy to come to school and enjoy spending time with their teachers, I think that again is a pretty unique thing. And I can attest to that both as a teacher who loves to work with these kids and the mom of 2 middle school kids who enjoyed coming to school through those years, which for some can be pretty tricky. And just overall, our community and the connections that are formed within that community is something that parents, students, alums, teachers, everybody always points to as one of the strengths of CRS. When we do any kind of exercise about, let's talk about our strengths, let's talk about our challenges, community always, without a doubt, ends up on that list of strengths. And it doesn't matter who you ask, whether it's a faculty member, a student, a parent, a former parent, an alum, that feeling of community and being part of a really strong community is something that I think is really important to everybody who's here.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So I'm just going to pick up specifically on this theme of community, but broaden it in terms of talking about just what community equity, inclusion, and belonging look like here at CRS. So even though, you know, our CEI statement is technically a separate statement from our mission statement, one of the things that I value most in my work with the administrative team and with all of the employees here at CRS is that ultimately it doesn't exist as a separate statement because it's one that really informs the other. The end of our mission statement is our aspiration, our promise that our graduates are going to know themselves, understand others, and shape the future of our diverse world with confidence and compassion. And if ultimately we're going to make good on that promise, we have to have community equity and inclusion be the core idea behind anything and everything that we do here as an institution. And so that's what we see in our classrooms, on our playing fields, and the interactions we have with our board of trustees, with our parents and caregivers. It's the authentic core of all of our work here as a community. And so we recognize that if ultimately that is going to be our core, we have to be committed to what it means to actually live out that ideal. And we have that then as a series of commitments that we make as an extension of that community equity and inclusion statement. And these aren't just commitments that, you know, we whisper at each other or that we say that we have and don't follow through with. They are on our website. They are in our development materials. They're in our admission materials. They are everywhere to ultimately make sure that, you know, for employees coming into the community, for families coming into the community, that you know who it is that we are and what it is that we stand for, but it also means that then we're held accountable to actually seeing how it is that these commitments play out in day-to-day life here in our community. And so what I'm going to do is just talk to you a little bit about what those 5 commitments are, and then just give a few examples of how it is that they actually play out here within the context of our community. So our first commitment is that we will always be engaging in the complex work of equity and inclusion and belonging with careful thought, enduring dedication, and ongoing self-reflection. And before I get into what that looks like, I do have to acknowledge that, yes, I did put in a picture of myself, which felt bizarre and self-aggrandizing. But what I actually liked about it is what I felt that the picture represented. And it's the fact that I actually have no idea what we're talking about in this picture or why we're making that hand motion. And it's because I'm actually just having a conversation with these students. That yes, we knew that the photographer was there and was taking our picture, but we were being silly in the middle of the middle school atrium, you know, on a Tuesday afternoon. And so again, goodness knows what I guess we're expressing the size of, but to me, it really was this indication of just how it is that students here in general. But yes, this is a photo of me with 4 of our middle school students of color who I see every week as part of our affinity group for our middle school students of color. But this was just us being silly. But specifically, what does this idea of engagement look like? What are a few examples? One that I just wanted to point out is our strategic plan. Yes, you know, every school has a strategic plan, but certainly a key component of ours is that its second pillar is that we will be committed to continually building and maintaining an equitable and just school community that centers belonging at its core. And so by having it there, again, it's about accountability. It's about us saying, all right, if that's our goal, what are the tactics that we're going to use as a community to meet that goal? And one of the tactics that we used last fall and then is informing our work now and will in the future is that we did have Dr. Keith Hinderly of Hinderly and Associates come to campus to ultimately undergo a climate assessment process with us. And that was a great experience. It really helped tell us many things that we did know about ourselves as a community, but of course, when you have an external set of eyes come in, there are all of the things that you don't see because you're living them day to day. And the combination of his viewpoint with the work that Charles River was already doing has really helped us usher in a lot of new programming and has helped us set a really clear course for the future. Our second commitment is to cultivating intercultural competence and anti-bias mindset and actions through our curriculum and co-curricular work with our student body, our faculty and staff, and our parents and caregivers. And so a few examples of what that looks like. We do a lot of not just employee workshops and trainings, but also opportunities for parents and caregivers to be a part of that learning and that growth as well, along with the students that they have enrolled in the institution. And so in recent years, we've had Rosetta Lee on campus. Dr. Hinderly was working with Charles River long before he came to do the climate assessment. It's part of why Gretchen made the choice to hire him, because he knew us so well, because he was already a part of this work and commitment. Dr. Jennifer Bryan, Allie Michael, and numerous others. And I also wanted to point out that our board of trustees has been involved as well. And that's something else that may be different than other places. Just, I think, 2 weeks ago, for their fall retreat day, Rosetta Lee came and did a multi-hour anti-bias training with our board of trustees to make sure that they could also be real partners in the work that's happening in our classrooms and around the school. We have parent and caregiver book groups, again, to help all members of the community be engaged in conversations around equity and inclusion. In the past, we've done memoirs, some novels. This year, we're going to be focusing on Britt Hawthorne's new book, Raising Anti-Racist Children, doing a multi-part series that will allow parents and caregivers to be a part of conversations about how they can partner with the school around equity and inclusion work. And as Elizabeth was mentioning, she has made a real commitment and continues to make a real commitment to supporting employees during the school year and during the summer around professional development work created to all aspects of classroom work, but also specifically around equity and inclusion. So there are many conferences that people attend, but our summer commitment to sending people to diversity directions is a real indication of that commitment. Last summer, we sent a cohort group of both senior administrative team members as well as employees to help us continue to have conversations here on campus. And we have many student leadership opportunities. Actually, right before this, I was in a meeting about how we'll be doing our Martin Luther King Jr. Days of Action this year. We, instead of having a speaker come in and talk to the community about MLK, his life, work, and legacy, CRS for a long time has actually used those as workshop days to have kids actually be engaged in conversations around Dr. King's life and legacy. And actually this year, we're going to have our own middle school students lead those workshops. It's a real indication of, I think, many things, but in particular, just how amazing our middle school students are and how much our younger students look up to them, and how it is that actually having them talk about who they are and what they care about and where they see their own commitments to equity, justice, and inclusion taking place and being a part of their lives, them giving that message to the younger grades, I think is going to be an incredibly powerful way that we will end January. Our third commitment is to providing a school environment and education that equips community members with the awareness, attitude, knowledge, and skills to become successful contributing members of a global society. And an example of what that looks like are just the themes that we have in the classrooms that Elizabeth was speaking about. And so just as a few examples that, again, as Elizabeth said, that Zaretta Hammond's culturally responsive teaching in the brain has been a key part of faculty work for the past several years. And it's become a part of what students are actually doing in classrooms as well. Our fourth grade spends the year really doing an in-depth study of various cultures from around the globe. And they start the year by using Zaretta Hammond's own culture tree to talk about who they are, to understand that way of thinking about communities and about cultures. And then they use her tree throughout the year as their framework for learning about the cultures that they study from around the globe. As an example, in our 8th grade, they write, after they read The House on Mango Street, in the style of Cisneros, both showing their understanding of her work and of the novel, but also to make those really important connections of self to text that'll help them continue to think about authors whose voices may be similar to their own, but also to see where it is they can see themselves and how it is they can build understanding of authors whose voices may be nothing like their own and how that helps inform their worldview. And we also have an amazing wetlands here on campus, one of the things that I found most amazing and surprising about CRS, and that offers so many opportunities for students to literally step outside of the classroom and walk across the street into the woods to be able to sometimes spend time in general or study aspects of content in particular. But there is a vernal pool in the wetlands. And part of what that allows for students to do is to do water testing that then lets them think about what's taking place in our wetlands, but of course make connections to water access around the globe, and to use that as a part of their study and their building of an understanding of local communities and of the world around them. Our fourth commitment is to developing historical and contemporary understandings of the implications of systemic oppression, power, and privilege, and how our work as a school plays an important role in dismantling those systems. Two examples of what that looks like is the process that we've used to think through land acknowledgements. We very much wanted our land acknowledgement, as we continue to develop it, to be more than just words on a piece of paper. And so, of course, we know the tribes that occupied the land and who continue to be important, thriving communities around us. And we wanted to go a step forward. And so what that's looked like is us reaching out to the tribes around us to offer the use of our facilities free of charge and recognition of the former occupation of the land. And as we're in conversations about our new playground, having conversations around what it looks like to use native plants as a part of that building and to connect with the Indigenous communities around us to help us have a better understanding of what that plant life could look like and how it could be a part of our curriculum and our conversations around Massachusetts, past, present, and future. And we also have what's known as Compass. That's our organization for families of students of color. And so before the school year officially begins, we invite both new families of color as well as returning families of color to campus to get to know us as an administrative team, to meet their teachers, and to also, perhaps most importantly, be able to interact with each other, to already build a culture of belonging as an affinity group, to then have that ability to recognize themselves, who they are, to literally see themselves in and at Charles River before then becoming a part of the broader community, and engagements for those families and connections between those families happen all year round. And last but not least, our fifth commitment is deepening our community's knowledge of respect for the multifaceted nature of identity and culture as they exist in ourselves, our local communities, and in our world. And so what does that look like? That looks like affinity groups for all members of the community. So that's employees, that's students, and that's families. And that's both, connected to race, connected around gender identity and sexual orientation as well. And we also have an AWARE group, an alliance of white anti-racist educators that our white employees are a part of as well. So they can think about their own ally and, more importantly, accomplice work along with people of color in the community. We also have what is perhaps my favorite part. I have a lot of favorite parts, but we'll give it, top three parts of CRS, which are our Friday assemblies, which I cry almost every week for the ones where our students are performing. And so some of these Friday assemblies are outside performers, and our assembly coordinator does an amazing job of having that be an opportunity to bring in folks from all sorts of communities of a myriad backgrounds to really expose our students to the world around them and people who may share their identities and people who may not. But we also have internal assemblies as well. And that's where we have our students both showing parts of themselves, their talents and identities of their own choosing, but also we see the ability of students to get up and share their classroom work. And so that's actually a part of the two pictures that I pulled here. This is the same student in two different years, one of our current fourth grade students. Last year when she was in third grade, she is a very serious dancer outside of the CRS community and does traditional Indian dance. And so she chose to share one of her dances as a part of the community sharing assemblies in third grade. And then this year in fourth grade, so just maybe a month or so ago, she again was up as a part of her classroom, sharing the work that she and her classmates had done around sharing and discussing their family cultures in class. And I love that as an example, of many things that are true about CRS. but most importantly, the idea that, you know, it's not a one-time ability for students to share who they are. It's not a one-time moment in which you can celebrate yourself, who you are, your culture. And it's not something that you have to do on your own. It's also something that happens in classrooms in this sort of 2-year span for this student to see herself and her family and her community celebrated on stage. I thought was sort of a really nice encapsulation of that idea. And then last but certainly not least, particularly coming just a few days after POCC, we provide full funding for any employee of color who wants to attend POCC to be able to be a part of that amazing experience and support folks in doing so, you know, in terms of classroom coverage, but also thinking about reentry, giving time and space to be able to be a part of that. The folks who do not attend are white allies and accomplices are very generous with their time because they know how important that is for those of us of color to be able to be freely a part of that experience. And so it's another place in which that commitment is shown. But I will stop sharing my screen because at this point, I think we would love to answer questions that anybody may have. And we appreciate everybody being here with us today.
Thank you so much for sharing about your community. I think what brings me the most joy about these member school spotlights is you can really see the people who care and really try to make the change with each individual person, human being, for them to be seen and heard and felt and cared for. So these have really brought joy to me because I haven't been in the classroom and kiddos are like a deep passion of mine. So thank you for doing all the lovely work that you're doing. It does not go unrecognized because we at Tri-Genius are cheering you on and we want to make sure that you feel supported. We do have some questions. And the first question that we have was, where was home for you before you got to Dover, Massachusetts? How was the move? And how would you describe the area to someone who doesn't know the area?
I'm happy to go first.
Go for it, Nia, and then we'll take turns.
Sounds good. I am Boston born and bred. But I think the relevance of that, just sort of to your question, is I went to a local independent school. I taught in several others in the area before coming to CRS. And to me, CRS really does stand out. Its commitment to its mission and to equity and inclusion, I really think is second to none in the area. And so even though I didn't move to come to CRS, I sort of always had my eye on open positions and what was happening here in the community. And, you know, Dover as a location, to me, fits beautifully in our ability to really dedicate ourselves to that mission. You know, we are far enough outside of the city of Boston that we can have a wetlands, that we can have sports fields to be able to have the type of community that we want to have, but close enough that I think tomorrow our kids are going to MIT. Is that right? I think fourth grade is going to MIT tomorrow. You know, we can take the kids into the city of Boston for all sorts of reasons with relative great ease. We can have that both and because of where we're located.
Did you want us to explain as well, or do you want? Okay, so for me, I moved to Boston 25 years ago. I'm a New Yorker and was raised just outside of the city. And fully admit, because full disclosure, I came to Boston sort of kicking and screaming, no offense, Nia. And here I am 25 years later, and I love it. Absolutely love it. And, you know, I think one thing to say is important. I think this is off the top of my head, but I think I'm only one of 2 people on our staff who lives in Dover. And I live on campus, which is why I live in Dover. I live just down our driveway, but the majority of all of us, of the employees, live outside of Dover. So Dover is a quiet town. It is, you know, there's one stoplight and there's a lot of traffic in it, but it's one stoplight and quiet. And so it very much is a suburb. And so I'd say 90+ 90+% of our community, our professional community, does not live in Dover. So, but to what Nia said, for me, at least, as somebody who loves the city, I'm in and out of the city all the time. I was in last night for something. It's very accessible. And I'm still getting used to 25 years in referring to it as going into town, because where I'm from, it's going into the city in New York. But people seem to say it's going into town when it comes to Boston.
So I grew up in northern Maine, which doesn't have a city. So so I didn't grow up anywhere near a city. And I think I appreciate most what Nia said about the blend of space that we have to be able to have so much of our curriculum be based in the outdoors. And we believe really strongly that kids need to be outside. They need to be first and foremost running and moving and playing outside, and also learning outside. So the wetlands is a great way that we can extend the classroom to the out of doors. And then also we do take advantage of being close enough to the city of Boston to be able to take advantage of all that it has to offer. Our fourth graders are going to MIT for tomorrow, as Nia mentioned. We have on Friday afternoons, our middle school students do an electives program, and we're in the process, our English teacher, 7-8 English teacher, is in the process of creating an electives course that's based on museums and what role museums play in community and in society. And so students are going to be able to generate questions and then think about some museums in and around Boston that maybe aren't the Science Museum and the MFA and the biggies, but the smaller museums that people don't go to as often, and see what that means for living in a place where you have access to that kind of resource. And so that's another way that we use our proximity to Boston to be able to make use of it.
Can I add one more thing to that, Elizabeth, about the outdoor space? The one thing I think it's important that I think sets us apart from schools as well is that in terms of kids running around and taking advantage of the fresh air, we have 2 recess a day throughout the school. And because it's not just about being able to socialize, but it's an important piece, but we also believe that just in that, what we know about, neuroscience and the brain and needing to move and needing to, it really helps kids become more accessible to learning if they're moving and running about. So I just thought that was an important fact. And also, I don't think we really mentioned how small we are. We're just under 200 students, and with a student teacher ratio of 5-to-1.
Awesome, thank you. Whether it is a seasoned teacher or a new teacher joining a community, what are some of the mentoring or guidance that you provide to the new member to ensure that they are successful in your community?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at that one first. This is something that I have been working on for a number of years. So we, like any school, it differs every year, whether how many openings we have and how many new faculty members we're welcoming onto campus. But however many new teachers we have joining us, new employees we have joining us, we do a number of things. So we have an orientation program for new faculty and new employees that includes meetings ahead of time in the summer, at the end of the summer before our full faculty meetings. We have a day where our new faculty and employees join to create a cohort together of all of the new folks who are joining the CRS campus. And so we use that day to attempt to provide the right amount of information, not too much that's going to make everybody's eyes glaze over, but enough so that they feel like they're ready to start in the year. And also we talk about the culture of the school and what it's like to be here, what it feels like at CRS. We try to make that day a combination of sort of nuts and bolts and the sort of deeper meaning of what it means to be a member of our community. Every new employee has a mentor who is somebody who is not, if they're a teacher, not their co-teacher, because we do have sort of an automatic team of teachers working with, whether they're a specialist, they're a part of that specialist team, or in pre-K to 5, they have a co-teacher who they're working with very closely in the classroom, or on the middle school team of teachers. It's somebody outside of that group who they meet with weekly to talk over different how things are going and things like that. We also meet monthly as a new faculty, a new employee cohort with myself and another member of our faculty who concentrates on new faculty support and coaching, teacher coaching. And so we meet monthly, and sometimes we have topics that we want to talk about. Other times we're there just to check in and see what's on the mind of our new faculty. We have, in addition to the mentor, the monthly meetings, we also have a professional growth program that is different for teachers and employees who are in their first year. So they have a few more touch points throughout the year, whether it's with their mentor or with a peer observer or an administrator who's coming into their classroom to just help provide feedback and support on what they need. And so, and then we just are a place where, you know, everybody's checking in with each other sort of all the time. So whether or not you're an official mentor to somebody, relationships form, and people just sort of tend to be looking out for the folks who are new. And I think, you know, people talk about when new students are here, it only takes about a week to then not know who the new students are. And I would say the same is true for a lot of new faculty. Sometimes I think as a school, we hire really well. And so we tend to have people who are excited to be here. And after a week or two, I think if you asked an outsider, do you think that teacher is new or has been here for a long time? Nobody would have any idea, you know, who's who. So.
I'll add to that a little bit, specifically thinking about new and returning employees of color. So one of the affinity groups that we have on campus is our affinity group for employees of color. And we meet regularly throughout the year, both on campus and off campus, to share joys, share challenges, be of support to one another, enjoy each other's company, anything and everything in between. And so that, for many of us of color here on campus is a really exciting part of the work that we can do here, that Elizabeth sets up great structures for, the mentorship opportunities that she was talking about for all employees, but it also provides a really nice sense of mentorship for those of us that are a part of the employee group of color as well. And we just have a good time. There's a lot of laughter as well, in addition to very serious conversations about, instructional design or pedagogy. It's nice to have folks, right, with whom you share affinity that you also just want to hang out with on a Friday afternoon after school.
That's awesome. I would like to commend y'all on, Orpheus likes to say a lot of schools focus on the diversity, but folks don't think about the equity and all the letters that follow. I think your community is doing a really great job in being aware of, what spaces and land do you use and how have you welcomed Native folks in the area to use your space, right? I don't know of any, I know there's some out there, but this is the first that I know firsthand that a school is openly and honestly talking about and having those conversations. So I wanted to give you props for that. Another question I wanted to ask is, what are some of your favorite traditions or celebrations that you have at the school? Because you talked about the Friday assemblies, but are there other components of the school that set you apart from others?
I'll start, and then Elizabeth and Nia, please jump in. One thing before I jump into some of my favorites, one thing that COVID really gave us an opportunity to do something that we should have done long ago, but to really look at our traditions as a school and how do our traditions still work for us and which ones are harmful, and to really pull them apart. And the exciting part of the beginning of that work was that we first started that work with a group of students who I was working with, the student leaders really wanted to take a look at some of our traditions. And of course, that they've been some hard decisions that we've made, and they haven't always been welcomed by alum and parents and all that, current parents, but we know that they're right for children and right for the adults in our community. So we still have work to do, but we've begun that work in earnest and made some decisions. And I have to say, I know Nia already spoke about the assemblies, but the sharing assemblies, for me, sharing assemblies they're incredible because they're just that, they're sharing, and they're not, even if a child is performing a dance, as we saw, they're not polished performances. They're truly children getting up and sharing with their greater community. And parents are invited, parents and caregivers are coming, and neighbors, and there's, definitely several hundred people in our foster hall, which is where we have the assembly. So they are special, and I cry at each one as well, Nia. And we also have something called buddies, which I know a lot of schools have a sort of buddy program where we pair the older children with a younger student. And what comes from that, and again, because we're small, is that there's this incredible energy and mix of ages that you see on our playground at any given time. And whether it's actually the buddies who have been set up together or not, what comes from that is you can see 8th graders on the swings being pushed by kindergartners. You see, like, nobody's too cool for school, if you will. Like, kids are just being kids. And I really think that comes out of this tradition of buddies. And last year, or the year before, I think, at graduation, one of our 8th graders who was graduating, her buddy came back for her graduation from years prior to see her graduate, because those relationships that are formed. And again, it goes to connections with what we've been talking about today. Those connections, those relationships are deep and they're real.
Absolutely. I'll add on a couple of my favorite things. One, so I love, it's sort of a tradition of participation, I guess, in a broad sense, but in a really specific way. We have every year an 8th grade musical that the entire 8th grade class participates in. It's not, you don't try out and some of the kids are in it and some of the kids are not. All of the 8th grade. Now, we're a small school, as Gretchen mentioned, but we have 20 to 24 8th graders. So it's not as if we have a musical with 700 children participating. But so in some ways, our size allows us, I think, to have traditions where every single person has a role and has a meaningful role that they play. And so every year, the 8th graders put on a musical, and some of the kids are musically inclined and they want to be in front of the school singing. And some of the kids are mortified at the thought of being on stage and singing in front of the school. And yet they are part of the cast and they are in the ensemble and they are up there performing and they are having the time of their lives. And they come together as a class and put on some pretty amazing productions. And for some of them, it's the only time in their lives they will ever be a part of something like that, because they're not going to continue to do musical theater in high school or after. And I just think what a gift to be able to give to kids that experience that they may just never have again. And I think in some ways our athletic program is similar in that we emphasize participation for everybody, not competition and being, the best and the most cutthroat of athletic teams. And so in the same way that, somebody may be in a musical in 8th grade and never again, this also may be the last chance a student has to be a member of a basketball team or a soccer team or on a track team, because when they get to high school and things are more competitive, they may not have a chance to participate anymore. And so for them to have the feeling of being on a team and helping their team, win a tough game or commiserating with each other when they, lose a close one or whatever, those experiences, I think, are so important. And we do a lot of academic work with kids, but I think sometimes it's that, it's the standing up on the stage with your classmates taking a bow with the whole school giving you a standing ovation. Like, that's what they're going to remember when they leave and go on. They're also going to remember how to do some algebra and, some other things too. But those feelings that they have from being so supported by, their whole community, like that, those are my favorite traditions.
I'll just say ditto. I shouldn't have gone last. Those were so many of my sisters. Like, yes to all of that.
My last question, to be respectful of time, is knowing what you know now, what would you want your past self to know about your journey here at this school?
Hmm.
Ooh. That's a good question. I think I would want my past self to know that every day is going to be hard work, but it's going to be good work. It'll be about going home, the type of tired that, like, let's be honest, right, is tired, but it's that tiredness that comes from, like, here's where we moved today, right? To Gretchen's point, here's where we had a tough conversation about a change that needed to be made, but we got there. Here's where, we had, what was it, last week, a 2-hour administrative team meeting on a brand new hiring process. And that's a long time to be in a room. And, right, that is the hard work of dedicating ourselves to not just saying, we want to diversify, our hiring practices and make sure they're anti-bias, but no, we're going to do it. And yeah, so I think we all need that reminder, right? That, like, just because you're tired doesn't mean that you didn't have a good day, that you didn't get done the things that need to get done.
You want me to go, Elizabeth?
Sure.
Well, my first part is similar to Nia, that, like, hold on, because every day is tough. It just is. To be in education, it's hard. And I'm saying that from my position as a white person, and I know how hard it is to be in this business right now. And I believe so passionately, as do the people around me, in the mission of the school. Like, there's true love for this school. And so that's what carries you. And that's what I would say to my past self. That's what will carry you, is that there is a true, legitimate love for this school and belief in the mission. So hold on to that.
Yeah, again, I've been here the longest of the three of us, so I've had more years of, I don't know, reminders or of advice to give to myself maybe, but I think it's a lot of what Nia and Gretchen has said, which is, this is a place, I think, CRS is a place that lives its mission every day, and that's a good thing to keep in mind, that, if things, sometimes we get stuck in the weeds, and as an associate head of school, I think I get stuck in the weeds a lot. My job is weeds some days. So it's like all of these little tiny issues that are coming up every day, that they're all in support of this mission and these wonderful and amazing kids that we're graduating each year and sending on to do amazing things. And so, that's key, that in mind. And that, this is a faculty who are united in our belief in children, and that children are capable of a whole heck of a lot. And so this is a place where kids are respected, and that's something to keep in mind throughout, that it just is, it's an amazing place to be when there's such unity around those concepts of children just being at the center and being able to make everything else in support of that.
That is all the questions that we have for you. On behalf of Strategy Genius and the folks who are watching, and folks in the future that are going to be watching and learn about your school, thank you for your time. Time is one of the precious commodities that you cannot get back. So we really appreciate the quality of time that you spent with us to share the community that you have built and continue to build for the young folks there. This webinar will be available on our website and on our YouTube channel, and we'll send it out to y'all so you can see it and share it with your own community. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Strategy Genius for all of your
Thank
hard
you both. Thank you both so much.